If you're feeling overwhelmed by the amount of content that it takes to promote and market your business online, or you're just looking for a simpler way to organize your entire strategy, you're gonna love this episode because I'm gonna walk you through a process that's only gonna take you 10 minutes to create an awesome content marketing plan for your business. Doesn't matter what niche or what industry you're in. And we have a free template that you can download right now so you can go through this process with me. I'm gonna show you step by step how exactly to create a content marketing strategy, and more than that, really a content marketing plan for your business. So let's get into the video. All right, familia, so make sure that you download the template that accompanies this video. It's gonna be linked in the description below, as well as a blog post that accompanies this episode with all the links that we talk about and even more resources so that you are totally ready to implement your content strategy. So I'm gonna jump behind the computer and walk you through the entire process now. So welcome to the Napkin Content Strategy. I'm so excited to walk through this with you. So I added an amazing quote from Lee Odin, which is content isn't king, it's the kingdom. And if there's something that we are doubling down on in our business this year, it's content creation. It just works. It helps to differentiate our brand, and it's absolutely necessary to grow an audience, in my opinion. Now, the beautiful thing is that gone are the days when you need dozens of pages to map out a legit content strategy. We're focusing on simplifying, like I said before, and that's why I feel like this napkin content strategy is so powerful. So here are the key questions that I want you to start asking yourself as you're going through this process. Number one, what macro content will I create, right? This is your pillar content. This is the actual content that you will be creating long form, whether it's in video or a blog, podcast, slide shares, speaking engagements, newsletters. But what we're really focused here is on the actual macro content, right? How are you going to be delivering that content? And then, of course, on what channel will you create it, right? Whether it's on YouTube, or it's going to be via podcast, or it's going to be on your actual blog. The next one is, how will I repurpose macro content into micro content, right? So a big differentiator here. Macro content is your core pillar content, long form content, right? And then micro content are those snippets of content that you're sharing on social media that you're repurposing into quotes, into tips, into short videos, into testimonials, into case studies, right? Those are all the small aspects of your long form content that you're splintering, right? And repurposing and sharing on social media to drive traffic to your website. So how will you distribute that micro content, right? On what channels? Are you going to be using Instagram? Are you going to be using Facebook? Are you going to use Facebook groups or pages? Are you going to be using LinkedIn? All of those are great questions to ask. So how will you listen to your audience? And this is something that we are 100% going to be implementing way more this year. So when you publish your macro content, it might be a good idea to wait 1 or 2 days before you create micro content around it, just to see how people respond. What are some of the comments that they share? What is their general reaction? And depending on where you're at in the success path, right? If you're in the hustle stage, you're growing that audience, and maybe you don't have a large following, so you don't necessarily can get a lot of feedback right away. But if you're breakthrough, profit or scale, this is a great thing to implement, is listen to your audience and then create micro content around what really speaks to them. So let's say that they loved, like the first part of a video, or a question that you asked, or some kind of call to action that you shared. You can splinter a shorter version of that content piece into that micro content, and you can get tons of feedback on what really resonated with them. So that's how you can listen to your audience, right? And then next is, how will you measure your KPIs? How will you measure your progress or key performance indicators? Very simple, very straightforward. So I'm going to show you a side-by-side contrast between this page and the next one, which is where you're going to be filling out all of this stuff on your own. Wonderful. So here we are on the second page, and this is what I want you to either print out or fill out on your computer. The first thing that we're really going to focus on is what are going to be your macro content channels as well as your micro content channels. So highly recommend this. Again, keeping it as simple as possible. I want you to focus as much energy and effort into one or two, channels that are really going to help you get a lot of that exposure and a lot of traffic. So let's say that for you, this is going to be a blog that you're then going to repurpose into a newsletter. And those are going to be your macro content channels, right? That's it. That's all you're going to focus on. Maybe if you're a little bit more advanced and you want to do video, you could do video, a blog article, and a newsletter. And those are your long form pillar, content. That's how you're going to be sharing and distributing that content. Maybe you have a podcast. So that might be a podcast and a blog, podcast, blog / article, right? Those are going to be your macro content channels. And maybe you want to splinter that a little bit more into micro content. So you're going to list out your micro content channels. These are usually your social media channels, right? So I don't want you to go crazy, and notice that there is a difference between a content channel that you're going to focus on, right? That's going to be kind of like your core content channel versus a channel that you're just going to distribute information on. You're not necessarily going to really hustle and focus on that one. So micro content here could be Instagram, and maybe you're going to use LinkedIn, and maybe you're also going to be repurposing this blog or article on Pinterest. So again, keeping it simple. I know I added 3 here, but if you're just getting started, stick to 1 or 2 micro content channels at the most. You don't have to be everywhere all at once. Build on your progress. Once you have one channel down and you're getting momentum and you're seeing that your audience is growing and you're getting traffic and you're getting sales, then you can move on and add more content channels. But you don't have to be everywhere at once, especially if you don't have a team that can support you in repurposing this content. So let's keep it as simple as we possibly can, okay? All right, so now let's get into our actual napkin and start filling all of these things out. You have your focus for your micro content and your focus for your macro content. Now let's lay it out here, right? So again, taking that same information and putting into what is going to be your core macro content channel. So 1, right? So in this case, the podcast, it's really what's going to fuel the blog or the articles that we're going to write. So the podcast is what we're going to write here. Similarly, if you have a YouTube channel and you're going to be sharing videos, then you're going to do video right here. If you're just going to be writing your, pillar content or your micro content, then it's going to be blog, 1 channel, right? And of all of these, you can't have other macro content channels that are going to support your core one, right? So this one could be our blog. And then you could also do articles. Maybe you're also going to be sharing it on Medium. And that's a Q4 goal, right? Once you get all this set up, you might be sharing it on Medium, and that's going to be an add-on, but it doesn't have to be something that you're going to work on right now. Now, if you have something else, like let's say that you want to also share this in the newsletter, which I highly recommend that you do to your list. That's where you would have it here. And we can also add it up here so that we have clarity. Next, we're going to figure out our micro content. So we're only going to focus on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest, right? So Instagram, we're going to be sharing posts in the feed. We're also going to be sharing Instagram stories, and we're also going to be sharing LinkedIn posts. What else? We have Pinterest. We're going to be sharing Pinterest pins. And that is it. That is our micro content strategy. That is it. We're going to keep it simple and sweet. Next, we're going to talk about how will I listen to my audience, right? So how is it that I'm going to figure out how people are reacting? So maybe your strategy is I'm going to wait 2 days until after I publish my blog or my podcast, I should say, to see what people's response is. Then I'll create micro content around that specific takeaway, right? This is an advanced strategy. It doesn't have to be what you are going to be creating if you're just getting started. So what would this look like if you're just getting started? Very simple. All you're going to do is you're going to check engagement, traffic, and open rates on my newsletter every week. Very simple, right? Straightforward. How will you measure your progress? So let's talk about specific KPIs. You want to check for, if you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Pinterest, you're going to check for repins. You're going to check for LinkedIn engagement, right? And you're going to check for open rates via email. And maybe we add here click-through rates too, CTR. Simple, straightforward. That's how you're going to know whether you are progressing. And the last question is, what are 1 to 3 ways that I can leverage my core channels to really get to the next level? So here's where I really want you to think about, okay, what are your core micro content channels, right? So your macro content channel, when we're talking about core, that's the pillar channel. Here, it's the podcast. It could be your YouTube channel. It could be, your blog. So how are you going to leverage that? What is 1 or 2 things that you can do to further grow it? So maybe you're going to focus on doing 3 to 4 collabs with other creators this year. Maybe you're going to focus on doing more interviews on other people's podcasts. And maybe you're going to go in here and you're also going to make sure that you are doing more solo shows, right, to showcase your authority. So these are just examples of what you would use as part of this process where you're going to focus on 1 to 3 ways you can leverage your core channels. You can also do a mix and match and say, okay, I'm going to do 1 or 2 ways that I'm going to leverage my podcast, which is my core macro channel, and 1 or 2 ways that I can leverage Instagram, which is going to have the majority of my attention on my micro content channel. So very simple, very straightforward. You're just getting all your thoughts into 1 piece of paper. And once you're done with this, you're going to print it out. If you have not already, you're going to make sure that you put it in a place where you can revise it. If you have a pegboard or you have, some kind of wall space where you can hang this up and see it every day, wherever you're working, highly, highly recommend doing this. And so hopefully it gets your juices flowing, it helps you stay super focused, and it simplifies the process of figuring out your content strategy. All right, so now that you understand the basic napkin content strategy and you have a content marketing plan, it's time to take that plan over to your content calendar. I'm going to link a video here on the screen that's going to walk you through the step-by-step process of getting that done on my favorite tool, Trello. But of course, if you want even more resources, make sure that you click on the link below this video to access that blog post with all the awesome resources. Guys, we have hundreds of videos on this channel, as well as podcast episodes and content that doesn't always make it into this particular channel. So make sure to check that out now. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. That goes such a long way for us and the algorithm, so more people can find this video. And if you want to work directly with me and my team, here are 3 ways that you can do that. Number 1, make sure to download the Napkin Content Strategy. That's also going to put you on our newsletter, where you're going to get our best content every single week for free delivered to your inbox. Number 2, you're going to want to check out my content class. It's all about how to actually leverage blogging. I know, a strategy that seems a little bit outdated, but it actually isn't. I'm going to show you how I actually scaled my blog to multiple 7 figures without writing a single word. Yes, I don't write my blog content. I don't like writing. I do video and audio content for you guys. And so I think that class is really going to help you build a foundational base for your business, especially if you're serious about content marketing. You want to make sure that you're changing the relationship with the people who are consuming your content. And that's not information you're going to find on YouTube, because most people on this platform are talking about strategies that are not really relatable to entrepreneurs. Number 3, you're going to want to go over to the Business Lounge podcast, where I get to dive way deeper into these topics that I can't really expand upon here on YouTube, because this platform is really for shorter form content and people aren't necessarily searching for some of the topics that we love diving deep into. So if you want more advanced strategies, more content that's specifically catered to entrepreneurs, definitely subscribe to the Business Lounge podcast. And finally, if you haven't already, get your butt over on the Business Lounge membership. It's one of the best places to actually get high quality, proven marketing strategies and business business advice that all link together. So I'm going to show you an entire success path, no matter what industry you're in or what stage of business you're currently on right now. We're going to show you which strategies make sense for your business and what you should totally be ignoring and leaving for down the road. It's going to give you so much clarity, so much insight, and you're not going to want to miss our monthly workshops, which are thebomb.com. So get over on the wait list so that you are notified the next time enrollment opens. Can't wait to see you in there. And for now, I'm leaving you with that next video you're going to want to check out, all about creating your content calendar. I love you. I mean that, and I'll see you